On 14 June 2018, Dugway Proving Ground observed the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. After a few remarks by the DPG Chief of Staff, Vincent Lydiard, he introduced the guest speaker, Mrs. Susie Felch Malohifo'o, the Executive Director of the Pacific Island Knowledge to Action Resources Group, located in Salt Lake City, West Valley, Kearns, Provo, and St. George, Utah. Mrs. Malohifo'o spoke on the history of Pacific Islanders in the States, their past and culture on the water, the Pacific Islander population of Utah, and steps in educating the public as to understanding differing cultures and bringing us closer together as a community.
We do a lot of work in cultural translation, which doesn't mean language. What it means is that we come from a different value system and understanding, and mainstream or maybe the service provider comes from here. And we come in and try to bridge that gap of understanding of self-empowerment. I mean, the last thing we want to do is to continue to build enabling people. And the only way that will work is if we are able to build from within and build leaders and let us lead from within. I always tell people, bring your resources and help us. But we are leaders. How about we share the power? How about we help each other? You can learn from me. I can learn from you. Not one way is better or right or wrong. I think it just is. And sometimes we just need to say, it just is that way. How do we work together to, again, unite our country, our community? And I think right now our country is in a really scary place, and all of these divisions that labels have given us. And so the more that we can bridge those gaps, I think that we'll find commonalities around these things. And I think for all of us, we want thriving communities. We want great kids, safe kids that live in a community that's fun and safe and educated. All of us want that. I think it's how we get there.
Mrs. Malohifo'o was followed by the Dugway Proving Ground Commander, Colonel Brant Hoskins, who talked about the history of Asian Pacific Islander military service, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, an all-Japanese unit and its history, and his own appreciation in serving alongside Asian American Pacific Islanders as service members.
There are 59,000 Asian American and Pacific Islanders actually in today's total force, the Army, the National Guard, the Army Reserve, and the active Army. So it's 6% of the total Army is Asian American or Pacific Islander, the largest piece of that being in the active Army. But the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, it was an all-Japanese American unit from World War II, and it is still one of the most highly decorated units in military history. This distinguished unit earned 9,485 Purple Hearts, 8 Presidential Unit Citations, and 21 of its members were awarded with the Medal of Honor. And so this is a pretty big deal, considering that at the beginning of the war and before they got the chance to do this and fight as Americans, many of them were interned. And some of their families were actually interned while they were out fighting on our behalf in the European theater. They didn't fight in the Asian theater, but were in the European theater. And so, a pretty big deal that I've always had a lot of respect for. I always appreciated working with Asian American colleagues, Pacific Islanders in the forces. And I've said this before, I look to my left and I look to my right, and I've always served with them. I don't know it any other way. So I've always appreciated that.
Mrs. Malohifo'o was then presented with tokens of appreciation from the command team for her time and effort in coming to Dugway for the event and her service to the community. Please make sure you check out our YouTube, Facebook, and official Dugway Proving Ground website to keep up with the latest and greatest DPG news. This is Darrell Gray from Dugway Proving Ground Public Affairs. Have a great day.